Hey everybody, it's Damien from Guitar Journey here, and as always, I hope your personal guitar journey is going awesome. I want to talk to you today about how to get organized, how to approach learning the wide variety of chords that we have available to us in music and on guitar. Now, kind of the reason I'm doing this video is because, for one thing, guitar players sometimes are just so focused on learning scales and wanting to play leads and all that we forget about the importance of being a good rhythm player. And I can honestly tell you that after nearly 40 years of playing, I personally find playing rhythm guitar to be every bit as satisfying as playing lead. Now, that being said, the real reason that I made this video is because learning chords can be kind of overwhelming in the same way that learning scales can be overwhelming. And those of you who might follow this channel might remember that a short time ago I released a video on getting organized in your scale practice. And what we did is we kind of grouped our scales into sort of 4 categories that allow us to prioritize our approach to learning them. And by the way, the link to that video on scales is below in the description to this video today, like right there or so. So today we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get organized with our approach to learning chords. And you know, sometimes I know guitar players will they'll buy a book at the music store or wherever. This big book of chords, it's about this thick or so. And it's just about every conceivable chord you can imagine in it. And they'll look at it and they say, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn all of these. And that's great, except that if you're not actually using those chords, chances are you're not gonna really learn them. You might practice the fingering, whatever, but you're not going to fully integrate them into your musical vocabulary. Now, setting that aside, a bigger issue, I think, is that huge variety of chords can be really intimidating, and you might not even know where to start. You might find yourself saying, geez, I don't want any part of this. It's, you know, I have to learn all of those. And you might just give up. You might even give up on guitar because it was just so crazy and intimidating. So I'm going to set forth 4 categories of chords for you today to help you kind of prioritize what you might want to be focusing on depending on where in the journey you are right now. Okay? So let's get started. The first category is just going to be your basic open string chords. Sometimes people call these cowboy chords. You know, these chords are played right about here, first position. My index is around the 1st fret. And there's going to be some open strings in the chord positions, okay? These are probably the first chords that you learned when you began playing guitar. You know, you've got C major, E major, A minor, G7, and so forth. And I want to suggest to you that you should not underestimate these chords. You can make a lot of great music just by playing these open string chords. And you might be watching this video saying, yeah, I already know those. Tell me what's next. But before we go ahead and do that, I want you to ask yourself that, I want you to consider that although you might know these, although you might know the shapes, can you really make music with them? Okay? So in order to feel that you've got a good grip on these open string chords, you want to be able to move smoothly from chord shape to chord shape, of course. But additionally, you want to be able to do so while strumming comfortably, okay? And everything should flow pretty smoothly. Maybe you're just going to be playing like a, I don't know, D major to C major to G major. You can strum like this, and hopefully it'll feel nice and relaxed and smooth. It'll maybe sound like this. Now, if you can do that, you don't necessarily want to stop there. Maybe you want to think about adding some notes between the chords, you know, maybe some low notes between the chords, maybe adding some hammer-ons or some pull-offs or other little licks within the chord or around the chord to make it more musical, maybe more expressive. So we could take that same D to C to G that I just strummed, maybe do something like this. Now, if you can do all that, strum the chords comfortably and get from chord shape to chord shape without any difficulty, maybe throw in some little embellishments here and there, then yeah, you're probably ready to move on to the next category of chords. But before I tell you what it is, I want you to think for a moment about what is one of the big limitations of our open string chords, which is they're not movable. So for example, I can take a C chord, move it up a few frets. Now, in theory, this might be an E flat chord. Ooh, obviously not. The open strings didn't travel with the rest of my shape as I moved it. And so as a result, it sounded pretty icky, okay? The open strings didn't travel with me, okay? Is there a category of chords that doesn't have open strings? Yeah, bar chords. And bar chords are going to be movable. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about teaching you bar chords, okay? That's not the point of this video. The point is to get organized in our thinking, organized in our approach to learning chords. But as far as bar chords are concerned, let's keep in mind that they don't have any open strings and therefore they're movable. That makes them extremely useful. Now, secondly, when we learn our bar chords, it's really helpful to organize them into 4 types of chords, okay? And those are going to be major and minor chords. Yes, there are sevenths and others. We'll talk about those later. So major and minor chords where the root note is either on the 5th or the 6th string. And all I mean when I say root note is that's the note that the chord is named after. So, if I'm playing a C open string chord right here, that lowest note of the chord, that root note is a C note, okay? So the root note is just the note that the chord is named after. Anyways, for my bar chords, the root note is going to be either on the 5th string or on the 6th string, okay? So for example, I can put my finger here at the 2nd fret of the 5th string that happens to be a B note. I can make this shape and it's going to be a B minor chord, okay? So we can refer to this chord as a root 5, root on the 5th string, minor chord. And what's great is I can take this shape all over the neck. So this is B minor. If I move it up to the 7th fret here, that is E minor, movable chord. Now, in addition to our root 5 minor chord, we also have a root 5 major chord. You can fret that a few different ways. I sometimes will play it like this. Some people will just flatten their ring finger out. I'm kind of a weirdo, so I use my pinky instead of my ring finger. Whatever works best for you is fine. All 3 fingerings are acceptable. So we've got root 5 minor, root 5 major. We've also got a root 6 chord, okay? Root note on the 6th string. So I can put my index finger here on the 2nd fret of the 6th string, and this happens to be an F sharp note right here at the 2nd fret. And when I shape the rest of the chord like this, I've got F sharp minor bar chord. Now I can move this all over the neck. If I move it up 3 frets to the 5th fret, that happens to be an A minor bar chord. Okay? So wherever I happen to be on the neck, I can shape that chord, G minor, at the 3rd fret. And if I want to turn it into a major chord, I'm just going to put my middle finger onto the 3rd string. Right here in this shape, it becomes G minor and then G major. So I've got root 5 minor, root 5 major, root 6 minor, root 6 major. Now, bar chords can be tough, okay? Just shaping them and getting them to sound clear takes time, okay? Don't rush that. Try not to get frustrated with it, okay? It requires both strength and flexibility, and that takes time to develop, okay? But assuming you can make them sound good, like I said, with the open string chords, same is true with the bar chords. It's not enough just to be able to shape the chords. You've got to actually make music with them. And whether or not it's just, kind of doing a hard rock kind of bar chord thing like this, or whatever, we need to be able to move through the chords. You saw I did root 5, kind of the major shape, sort of a power chord shape. Then I went to the root 6 major shape. Got to move through them smoothly and comfortably, okay? Maybe you can do something a little more involved that has some low notes in it, maybe some double stops, you know, whatever. I can sort of start off playing like a blues in B minor or something, and I can do something like... something like that, okay? Now, if you can do all that stuff with your bar chords, then yes, maybe you're ready to move on to category 3, okay? Category 1, open string chords. Category 2, bar chords. Category 3, I just call them chords up the neck, okay? And different people might see this different ways, but I like to be super organized in my thinking, and I'm going to keep things fairly simple. So consider this. If our bar chords are going to be rooted on either the 5th string or the 6th string, and we're going to strum either all 6 strings or 5 strings, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our chords up the neck are going to be 4-string chords. They're going to take place and be found on strings 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, for now, we're just going to talk about major and minor chords. So take, for example, a basic open string C major chord. Great, we got that. We can also play the C major chord as a root 5 major bar chord. Sounds nice. We can play it as a root 6 major chord. Sounds nice there as well. And you can kind of also reduce these shapes a little bit and add one more shape. So we can play a C major chord here. We can play it here. We can play it here. Okay? And the way that I get organized with these is it's helpful to keep in mind when we talk about a major or a minor chord, we sometimes use the word triad. And that word triad means that the chord is just made up of 3 different notes. Okay? Triad. 3 different notes. Okay? Without going down the rabbit hole of music theory here, just take it on faith. We call those 3 different notes the root note, which is the note that the chord is named after. And then there's something called the 3rd, and there's something called the 5th. Okay, root, 3rd, and 5th. And what's cool about these 4 string shapes is that you can kind of organize yourself where the lowest note, which is going to be found on the 4th string, is going to be either the root or the 3rd or the 5th. Okay, so here's my C chord. And this is a C note right here at the 10th fret of the 4th string. Okay, so that chord is in what we call root position, okay? And again, I want to emphasize, because these chords don't have any open strings, they are movable. So my C major chord can be moved maybe down 3 frets and become an A major chord. Or this shape is C again. I can move it up 2 frets and it becomes D major. And that's really nice, and these chords are really cool and really expressive. And you might think, you know, depending on the size of the ensemble you might be playing in, it might actually be a lot more appropriate to play these thinner sounding chords rather than a big sounding bar chord or a big open string chord, okay? Especially if you're playing in an ensemble that has a bass player, keyboard player, another guitar player, whatever. It might make more sense to play something a little bit more sparse sounding, like these 4-string shapes, okay? Just an idea to kind of put this into practice. Think about maybe you're playing with another guitar player, and that guitar player is strumming maybe C to G to D to E minor. C, G, D, E minor. And the guitar player is doing this. Now you can just strum that again yourself and it'll sound fine, but wouldn't it be kind of neat while the guitar player's doing that C, G, D, E minor, I think I said, we could be doing something like this with our 4-string chords. That's pretty nice, and it'll contrast really nicely. It'll blend really nicely, okay? So chords up the neck. 3 shapes you got to learn. with the root on the bottom, the third on the bottom, and the fifth on the bottom. Okay, 3 shapes. Okay, so bar chords, you've got open string chords, bar chords, chords up the neck, and now we're going to talk about 7th chords and their extensions. Okay, I don't want to say like the final category here because it's almost infinite what we can do with chords, okay? And it's actually a lot of fun once you understand chord construction and so forth. But again, the point of this video is to get ourselves organized, okay? So to keep things simple and manageable, that last category, yeah, 7th chords and their extensions. You've maybe heard of these, 9s, 11s, 13s, and so forth. And I just want to go off on a tangent for a quick second. A lot of people say that extended chords are used only in jazz, and I'm telling you that's just false, okay? Yeah, they are used in jazz, but I consider myself to be a rock player. I play these chords all the time. If you're playing blues, you'll find these chords very useful. If you're playing progressive rock, you'll find these chords very useful. If you're playing soul or gospel or R&B, you're going to find these chords very useful, okay? So please get rid of that idea that these deeper chords are used only in jazz. Just not true. Anyway, in terms of getting a handle on these types of chords, it's really helpful to think of them in 4 general categories. There's that number 4 again, 4 categories, okay? Now this is a little bit of an oversimplification, but it kind of works for getting us started. Those 4 categories are going to be a major 7 chord, a minor 7 chord, a dominant 7 chord, and the sort of family of diminished chords, diminished or half diminished, sometimes called minor 7 flat 5, okay? There are other types of chords, but these are really the main ones that you would want to focus on when you're getting started learning these deeper chords, okay? And what's really cool about it is you can base them sort of out of your root 5 and root 6 bar chords, okay? So for example, if we go back to that B minor chord that I made earlier, if I lift my pinky, I turn it into B minor 7. You can tell it has a slightly different timbre. Here's the regular B minor. Here's the B minor 7. Subtle difference. If I want to bring out that 7th tone a little bit more, I can put my pinky onto the first string at the 5th fret. That sounds kind of nice. Same deal, like here's an F sharp chord, root 6 major, right? If I lift my pinky, it becomes F sharp dominant 7. Put my pinky on the 2nd string, 5th fret. Brings out that 7th tone a little bit more. Remember that B major chord? I can turn it to B major 7. Turn that by lifting my middle finger into B dominant 7. Here's my B minor 7. And I got my B minor 7 flat 5. Did you notice they all had the same root note of the 2nd fret of the 5th string? Here's my F sharp major chord, bar chord. Here's my F sharp major 7. Here's my F sharp dominant 7. My F sharp minor 7. And here's my F sharp minor 7 flat 5. All with the same root notes. So they grow out of, you might say, my basic root 5 and root 6 bar chords, okay? Now that's a lot right there, but just one last thing. Once you get these basic 7th chords down, you can maybe manipulate 1 or 2 notes from the shape, turning the chord into, you know, maybe a 9 chord. So here's D, 5th fret, 5th string, D minor 7. Same root note, but I can make a D minor 9. Beautiful sound. D major 7. I can turn into D major 9. Same root note once again, okay? I can take my D dominant 7, turn it into a D dominant 9. Really cool stuff, okay? I can even change it around, get a D7 sharp 9, D7 flat 9. There's the flat 9. All with the same root note. So again, they kind of grow out of your root 5 and your root 6 bar chords. So you really want to make sure you've got your basic bar chords down before you try to learn these 7th chords and their extensions, the 9s, whatever, 11, 13, whatever, okay? Now, let's pause. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed by this, please don't worry. This is not a chord instruction video, okay? I'm going too fast, covering too much material for that. The point is not for you to learn these chords right now. The point is to show you how you should go about learning them. So as I have emphasized, don't start trying to learn these deeper shapes, minor 7, dominant 7, whatever, dominant 9, whatever, until you've got your basic root 5 and root 6 bar chords down. Only then can you start to expand your vocabulary, okay? Now, once again, none of this is useful unless you're actually making music with it. So I want to give you one or two final examples of how we put these seventh chords into play, okay? And a good idea is always just to take a pretty simple song and try to plug in some interesting chords, okay? And then the challenge is not to go so crazy with the deeper chords that you kind of lose the flavor of the song. So one of my favorites to play and to teach is an old jazz standard called Summertime, written by George Gershwin. And the first four measures are D minor 7, then E minor 7 flat 5 to A7, returning to D minor 7. Then there's a D dominant 7, which leads us in measure 5 to a G minor 7, okay? So I could play it something like this: D minor 7, E minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor 7 again, D dominant 7, G minor 7. Okay? Now, I can swap out some of those chords. Maybe in addition to the D minor 7, I'm going to put in a D minor 9. Maybe instead of the A7, I'm going to play A7 augmented. Maybe after the D7, I'll go to D9 to D7 flat 9 to lead me into the G minor 7 that follows. So maybe I end up with something like this. Okay, and that's pretty nice. That's pretty smooth sounding, okay? The idea is not for you to imitate that. The idea is just to get organized in your approach, okay? Have a steady, progressive pathway to not only learning, but really using the chords that will help you to play the music you love to play, okay? So there we are. It's been a long video, I know. Thanks for sticking with me, okay? I hope it's been helpful for you. We've got open chords, we've got bar chords, we have chords up the neck, and we have seventh chords and their extensions. What I want to point out to you in closing is that none of these chords ever stop being useful. And even after 39 years of playing, I still love playing a song that has, your basic open chords in it, like House of the Rising Sun or something cool like that, So it's not that you learn one and then you forget them, you move on to the next ones. You continually incorporate more, okay? All right, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate your subscribing to this channel. I always say we got a lot of great content here, but we have even more great content on the way. And of course, please leave me a comment as well so that we can all grow and continue on our guitar journeys together. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.